Thank you very much,
to keep
John.
a certain part of this interview quiet.
Yes, and an unexpected run for actor Iron E. Singleton on the already legendary AMC series The Walking Dead. That run parallels Singleton's unexpected rise from a tough neighborhood in Atlanta to a budding and successful Hollywood career.
And he chronicles his journey in the book Blindsided by The Walking Dead, the title also making reference to his breakout role as Alton in 2009's The Blind Side. To talk more about his book and his journey, here's Iron E. Singleton. Iron E., thanks for joining us here on America's Forum.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
It's our pleasure. Big fan of the show, even though I've fallen behind a little bit, so no spoiler alerts. But before we talk about your book, we wanted to ask you about the biggest story of this weekend. You mentioned this on CNN prior. You grew up in a rough neighborhood. I'm also from the suburbs of Atlanta, not Perry Homes, I should say, but it is a neighborhood that has a reputation. Talk to us about your journey and how you made it to where you are today to be a success and someone that can talk about coming from a difficult background and making it to where you are today.
Well, as you heard from the clip, the clip that you just played, I grew up in Perry Homes, and my mother, she was addicted to crack, and she was an alcoholic. And my father, I had limited interaction with him. I saw him 2 times in my life. My brother, he was entered into the justice system, the penal system, at age 14. Wow. He was arrested as a juvenile for drug possession, and he's been in and out of there ever since for the past 20 plus years or so. He may be a couple of years older than I am. I'm sorry?
How were you able to escape all of that? I mean, we're both just sitting there in amazement of what you've had to contend with growing up. How were you able to rise above that and be as successful as you are?
With the same essentials that we all have. It was a relationship with God, the ability to connect with God in the most dire situation, and to establish that foundation to help me get through it all.
What do you think about all the racial tensions that have been going on in the country right now with these 2 police officers being slain over the weekend, what's been going on in Ferguson, what's been going on in New York? What are your thoughts on this?
I'm sad. I'm very saddened that we have not gotten to the point to where, we can disagree with one another without being violently disagreeable. In support of Dr. King, and that he used back even 50 years ago. Now we're 50 years beyond that point, and we're still letting our rage and anger get the best of us to where we get physically violent. And I don't understand, why it takes an epiphany in order for us to create change in this world. We have to recognize that we're all one. We all come from the same place, we come from the same source, and it's obvious that we have not realized that, or else we wouldn't be shooting and killing and fighting and stabbing each other. It's unfortunate.
What do you think needs to be done? Someone who's escaped such hardships as you have, what do you think needs to be done for us to be able to come together?
Well, it didn't happen. The situation did not happen overnight. So change won't happen overnight either. But dialogue is the key. Communication is number 1, and we have to communicate honestly and openly with each other. I produced a movie, and it goes back to a Southern joke that it was called White Man, Black Man, Jew Man. And but I turned it into a comedy because I understand that people are more receptive to comedy as opposed to serious dialogue, and that loosens people up. But the leitmotif of the movie is we can't accomplish anything in this world and move towards positive progression without dialogue and without communication. That's what my movie is about. And that's what this whole life is. We have to talk about everything. We keep things bottled up on the inside, and we don't talk about things honestly and openly.
Well, Iron E., it's encouraging to hear your message, and it certainly needs to get out there, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to do this interview with you. But it seems like it's different from what we hear so often, especially when you look at these communities like the one where you grew up. There is a lack of optimism and a lack of hope right now. How can that change?
I I think that me, as an example, we have to, it starts with respect. It starts with us respecting one another, our approach. And I think that because of our preconceived notions, which everybody has prejudices, but it starts there and how we approach a situation. A prime example is, there's a property that I own in the city, and I had a worker there. He was doing some work on the front porch, and there was an officer there who's a very kind officer, because my wife has spoken to this officer, very, very kind person. But there was a run-in he had with the guy that was working there. He's a black guy, and he called him over to him. He said, "Hey, come here for a minute." And while he was working on the porch, as opposed to walking over to the gentleman and I guess talking to him and asking him, a few questions, but he called him over there to him and kind of created an awkward situation. But I think the approach could have been a little different. Had he gone over there, had he spoken to him, said, "Hi, how are you? I'm just a neighborhood police officer, just wondering what you're up to, wondering what's going on over here. Is everything okay?" But the approach was just totally different. And it starts there. It just starts with understanding that I'm talking to another human being, and I have to respect this person just like I want him to respect me.
And that's an excellent point. And, that's the type of information, Iron E, fortunately, you are talking about in your book. And one more time, we just want to mention the title of the book, Blindsided by The Walking Dead, Iron E Singleton, also a star from the hit show The Walking Dead. Iron E, again, I'm not caught up on the season, but can you give us a little hint, maybe, on what folks can expect? I don't know what your involvement is still with the show.
Mm-hmm.
And we got 5 seconds to go. I'm sorry to do that. So,
The Walking Dead. Well, that's
well, we got to go, Iron E. I'm sorry to cut it off. Great tease. More to come on America's Forum.